Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. An independent review board tasked with looking into the causes of last year's Eagle gold mine disaster in north central Yukon says a mandated review board could prevent future incidents. Just over a year ago, the mine experienced a heap leach failure, causing cyanide to be released into the surrounding environment. In a report released last week, the review board found multiple factors triggered the incident, including too much water accumulation within the heap. Engineer Mark Smith sat on the board and co-authored the report. He said at a technical briefing on Tuesday that tailings dams under mandated review boards have never failed and suggests the territory form its own board for significant projects like the Eagle mine.
You can manage that through the factors that we've said, we've recommended. In tailings, the failure rate, and these are harder facilities that fail more often, the failure rate of tailings dams with review boards is 0. I would think we could get to 0 or very close to 0 with review boards on heap leaching.
To Ottawa now, where the federal procurement ombudsman released his latest report on Tuesday morning with a number of recommendations on how the federal government can improve its methods of contracting out to private businesses. Alexander Iglich reports call for the establishment of a chief procurement officer and one set of rules for how the government awards contracts. There's also a recommendation to use artificial intelligence to modernize the system. The report also contains a section on Indigenous procurement, noting problems with the Indigenous Business Directory, how Indigenous businesses are verified, and contracts awarded to businesses misrepresenting themselves as Indigenous. The Ombudsperson office is set to release a full review of Indigenous procurement practices in March 2026.
I can simply say that we will have a lot to say on this subject kind of in the near term, because there are issues that are reflected, both what we heard in the previous Parliament and I think what we're seeing as part of the preliminary review in our report. So please do follow that closely. We anticipate obviously reporting to parliamentary committees at the time of completion.
Well, unlike other Mohawk communities in Quebec, Kahnawake does not have any regulated cannabis stores, but that may soon change. Some community members are against opening pot shops, with more than 100 people protesting outside of the Band Council office back in April. As Savannah Craig reports, tensions around the issue have been growing, resulting in no one currently on the community's cannabis board.
That's where it all starts, with these ladies. So that's how I became, and that's where my children continued.
Darlene Alfred is a grandmother and a great-grandmother.
I don't take any type of cannabis. I never have, but what I was looking at was getting involved because I have a lot of grandchildren growing up.
Grandchildren that she says she's looking out for.
I wanted to see more of regulations, controlling. I didn't want it to become an industry where you have 181 stores selling cannabis products.
That's why she became a board member of Kahnawake's Cannabis Council Board, or the KCCB.
License requirement and procedures.
For the past year and a half, the KCCB has been up and running. Part of their job is to review applications for future cannabis stores, as regulation of cannabis could be in Kahnawake's future. Alfred says not everyone in the community supports it.
The community is divided.
The regulation of retail stores in Kahnawake has been on the table since the federal government legalized cannabis 8 years ago.
We're telling you that you have to shut this thing down.
Joe Diom is a representative of one of the longhouses in Kahnawake. He says some community members are against opening up cannabis stores.
We don't want cannabis!
More than 100 people marched to the council's office to protest the issue in late April.
Our concern is the welfare of our children and our people because of the possible influx of unsavory characters.
Alfred resigned from the three-person KCCB on June 24th,
This is my letter.
citing political interference by the Mohawk Council of Ganawage. One member resigned before her, and another announced she wouldn't seek re-election when her term ended on June 24th. The key moment for why Alfred resigned was when 3 council chiefs visited a potential cannabis site without the KCCB knowing.
3 council chiefs had overstepped their boundaries and they went to a site visit, which they had no reasoning really to go. One was their portfolio, yes, but that was overstepping the boundaries of the board because of the simple fact that we don't know what transpired in there.
She says the 3 chiefs are Jeffrey Daibo, Jeremiah Johnson, and Yahahio DeLille.
At the beginning, when it was a secret thing. So what happened was it took us, I would say, at least 4 weeks to find out who the 3 were.
APTN News requested an interview with the Mohawk Council of Ganawage, but it did not respond before our deadline. APTN News spoke with Grand Chief Cody Diabo prior to Alfred's resignation, just days after enacting a 45-day moratorium on the retail sale of cannabis in Ganawage on June 11th.
We're going to try to engage with as much people as possible during that time.
The Grand Chief had vocalized his understanding to the community's protest to APTN News in April.
It's an emotional situation, rightfully so. People are worried about their children, about their daily lives. We see what's happening in other places in terms of cannabis, unregulated cannabis industries.
Despite division in the community, the council is moving forward with assembling a new board. The MCK put out a call on July 2nd, seeking 3 new individuals to serve on the KCCB. But Alfred says the council should listen to the community, which has already said no to any cannabis shops.
They have to listen to the community because we are the stakeholders of the land.
The moratorium is up on July 25th, and deadlines for new KCCB board members is July 18th. Savannah Craig, APTN National News, Ganawage, Mohawk Territory.
To the wildfire situation now, and Saskatchewan is facing an extreme wildfire season, and it's not over yet. The province continues to fight the flames with fire crews, air tankers, and out-of-province support as evacuations go on. Right now, Saskatchewan has 68 active wildfires, with 357 so far in 2025. Well above the 5-year average of 208 for this time of year. 15 fires are not contained, meaning crews are battling them, but growth is still expected. Evacuations are underway in Beauval, Key-Nuseo, Lac-La Plonge Indian Reserve, and parts of Denair Beach. So far this year, Saskatchewan has seen 23 evacuations, compared to a 5-year average of just 2. The Sika Nation and the Kainai Blood Tribe in Treaty 7 territory have filed separate judicial review applications against the Alberta government. Alberta Minister of Energy and Minerals Brian Jean lifted a previous ban on coal mining on the Rocky Mountain eastern slopes in January. Both nations say the province removed the ban without consultation. Sika Nation councillor Samuel Crowfoot told APTN that the eastern slopes are a sacred area for hunting and providing essential water. He says the Alberta government's recent approval that allows Australian-owned company Banga Mining to proceed with exploratory drilling at the Grassy Mountain Coal Project site is concerning.
Sika is not alone in this fight, and we've had to battle Alberta in many different areas. Once Alberta meaningfully starts to consult with us and meaningfully attempts to work with us, we don't always have to litigate. But unfortunately, it just seems that litigation is the only option that really gets their attention. So if that's what's required, then that's what we will do.
The Premier of Nunavut has announced he will not be seeking re-election this fall. In a message to the people of Nunavut today, PJ Akiaguk says he made the decision after deep reflection and many heartfelt conversations with his family. The first time MLA was elected in November 2021 during the midst of the global pandemic. Akiaguk says his best accomplishments are the devolution agreement, which returns control of lands and natural resources to Nunavut, the National Early Childhood Education Agreement, and the launch of Nunavut 3000, a plan to build 3,000 new homes across the territory. Premier says there have been some trying times in recent years, including the global pandemic, local tragedies, including community buildings lost to fire, and ongoing water crises. In a statement, Akiaguk says, "I'm not stepping away for another role. I'm stepping away because this is the right moment to spend more time with my young family, time that public life often demands we set aside." Nunavut will hold its next general election on or before October 27th. Well, we're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. The new season of The Amazing Race Canada premieres tonight and has a record number of Indigenous teams competing. We'll introduce you to the Rebeccas after the break. Welcome back. Now to British Columbia, where APTN's Tina House met a little girl who's finding creative ways to support her family while she battles a life-threatening disease.
Marley Young is just 5 years old and had just started in kindergarten when she started to not feel well. She was diagnosed with B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia, known as B-all leukemia, and was medevaced from their home in Terrace to Vancouver, where she began receiving chemo treatments. The family is doing their best to support her, and her mother and aunt decided to start selling fry bread to make extra money, to help with living costs while away from home, and to bring in more family during this challenging time. And Marley is involved in every step in making the fry bread too.
After spoon and slowly take it out. Now sprinkle it in the bowl. Now the next bowl.
Today, she is with her mother Elizabeth, sister Ariana, and aunt selling fry bread outside of this Home Depot in Vancouver.
It's usually done in between chemo treatments with BC Children's Hospital. We're doing this round of chemo is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we usually aim for Tuesday and Thursday. When we're at the hospital and they give her Play-Doh to play with, she'll make little circles and then she'll flatten it out. And I bug her, I'm like, oh, you're making fried bread? And she's like, no.
So far, business is steady with customers lining up to buy 2 pieces for $5. But one furry customer named Ruru distracted Marley away from her sales. Elizabeth says she is grateful for all support, but it's been very difficult for her and her family being away for 9 months in a new city.
We're currently staying at Ronald McDonald. We have been since. We finally got funding for groceries from Jordan's principal. That took a while. My sister back home, she made a GoFundMe that our hometown's been quite supportive of. We have a few continuous donors, but this was just to get our minds off of chemo and get us out the door so we're not cooped up.
Marley has just successfully completed 9 months of chemo and will be heading home soon. Her mother says Marley will also continue to work on perfecting her recipe for her fry bread while continuing to heal. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
The 11th season of The Amazing Race Canada premieres today on July 8th for Canadian viewers. And there is a record 3 all-Indigenous teams this time around. Video journalist Bruce De La Cruz spoke with the team known as the Rebeccas, 2 female Indigenous best friends who are competing for the $250,000 grand prize. Here's that story.
Rebecca. I'm also Rebecca. We're the Rebeccas. We are
Rebecca Morasti and Rebecca Watts are one of 3 Indigenous teams on the 11th season of The Amazing Race Canada, a new record for the show. Marketed on the show as the Rebeccas, they describe how they met in 2016 and have been inseparable ever since.
So Rebecca and I met in 2016 in Calgary at a Indigenous fashion show called Otapiaki. And we were doing a fitting/model call, and they called Rebecca, and we both stood up, and the rest is history.
As Indigenous women from northern communities, Watts from Petskay First Nation in Wrigley Northwest Territories, and Morasti from Flying Dust First Nation in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan, they are taking the responsibility of representing Indigenous people seriously while on the show.
I would say one of the biggest motivating factors for me to be on the show, and I would probably say for Rebecca too, is just to be that representation that we haven't seen growing up for Indigenous youth and just Indigenous people altogether.
But unbeknownst to them, an interesting development was awaiting them and was revealed during the show's production.
We were actually informed while we were filming this show that myself and Rebecca are the first all-Indigenous female team that has ever been on Amazing Race Canada, which I didn't know, so that's super duper cool.
In addition to being one of 3 Indigenous teams this season, the Rebeccas unknowingly became the first all-Indigenous female team on the show. Rebecca Watts speaks on this surprise opportunity for representation.
we obviously want to be that representation we didn't have. I know growing up as a little girl, it was hard to just see, nobody that really looked like me other than maybe some cartoons that we don't need to talk about. But it's just like really important to be that. And I think it's big shoes to fill.
Rebecca Watt also mentions the ways that growing up Indigenous might give them an edge on the show as well.
I think both of us being raised in small communities, just literally running around in the bush, kind of like we both did, we don't fear a lot. And we kind of just face things head on. So I think that definitely helps us. And again, that strength, that resilience, not even just like from us, from our ancestors, from our parents, from our community, just give us that strength to push forward through anything.
After getting to know the Rebeccas, we had one last question for them.
What will you do if you win the $250,000 grand prize?
Honestly, the thing that I would do is share it with my family. Share the wealth.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same boat.
Good answer. Good answer.
Bruce de la Cruz, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Thanks, Bruce. Big changes are coming for TikTok in Canada. They could see initiatives that helped Indigenous creators get axed. Details coming up after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And it was another fun day at West Hawk Lake, Manitoba for Gordon, the lovable bulldog. Gordon wants to remind everyone that water safety is a must. So this summer, wear a life jacket and be safe. Good message. Thanks for that, Gordon. You can send your photos to share@aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, showers and 25 in Fredericton, 24 in Halifax, 21 in cloudy in Kuujjuaq, 16 in Nain. Rain and 26 in Montreal, showers and 22 for Val-d'Or, 23 with rain in Sault Ste. Marie, showers and 28 in Ottawa, 25 in Thunder Bay, rain, and 23 in Sioux Lookout. 22 with showers in Thompson, God's Lake, and Norway House. Sun's out and 27 for Winnipeg, Brandon, and Dauphin. 26 and sunny in Regina, Yorkton, Saskatoon, and North Battleford. 25 in Meadow Lake, 24 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, cloudy and 24 in high level, Fort Chipewyan and Fort McMurray. 26 in Edmonton, cloudy, and 29 in Lethbridge. Sunny and 25 in Vancouver, 34 with the sun out in Kamloops. 25 in Prince George and Fort Nelson. 16 in Old Crow, cloudy, and 20 in Whitehorse. 22 in cloudy in Yellowknife, 25 in Norman Wells. 9 in Sax Harbor, 14 in Paulatuck. 16 in Chesterfield, 18 in Baker Lake. 3 in Resolute, 6 in Arctic Bay. Social media giant TikTok has pulled funding for its cultural programs across Canada. That's in response to the federal government ordering TikTok Canada to shut down its local operations in the country. The federal government ordered TikTok Canada to dissolve in November following a national security review. The order will not block residents from accessing or uploading to the app. Over the years, TikTok Canada has partnered with organizations like the Juno Awards and the Toronto International Film Festival to involve its app users in cultural events across Turtle Island. In collaboration with the National Screen Institute, the TikTok Accelerator for Indigenous Creators program has provided courses to hundreds of Indigenous content creators to harness their potential within the video sharing application. These initiatives are now on indefinite suspension.
And the way that the training program was designed was kind of like a combination of using already established TikTok content creators that have been using the TikTok platform, and whether that be a genre for promoting their music or doing vlogging or teachings, whether it's around language or food or the many other amazing talents that folks share. It's been great to kind of see that community grow online. It's really saddening and disheartening to most definitely see this loss happen. Again, I think TikTok Canada and the National Screen Institute were staying very helpful to figure out how we can potentially, still make change or still educate and train and give a platform to raise Indigenous voices. And that's kind of the end goal.
Well, that is all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For more, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and our APTN News YouTube page. And we'll be back here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow for your first look at the day's news. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Stay tuned. An encore presentation of Face to Face is up next. Have a great night.